Okay. So now speaking more in terms of the specific strategies that we have, if we stick to memory, go ahead.
Just a quick question with regard to retrieval and management. If it comes to decision making,
Okay.
where does that fall? Is that more on the retrieval end of things, or is that a combined, or is that something else altogether?
So decision making, I would put that more into executive functioning. So executive functions they're more of your higher order processes. So these are your processes that involve planning, organizing, and strategizing. So sometimes decision making will fall into that category because it's your higher order ability to problem solve or to reason between two things. Okay, but that can also be affected by a lot of the other networks, right? So if you don't have access to specific information, it can be harder to make an accurate decision, right? Like if you can't remember, let's say your medications, then it can be difficult to make a decision based off of those medications, right? That's just one example. Or if your processing speed is slow, right? So if you're slow to bring out this information or to reason, then that can also affect your problem solving ability, right? So a lot of these things, even though they're in different categories, they all in some way relate to each other. Okay. So when we talk about strategies, we're mainly talking about strategies to compensate limitations. Okay, we call them compensatory strategies. And they tend to fall into two separate categories. One would be like internal strategies. So these are strategies that you are applying yourself. Okay, so let's say memory. Let's use memory. Let's say you're going to the grocery store and you need to buy groceries. So one example of an internal strategy that you can use is you make a list. You make a list of everything that you need, right? Okay. Another thing that you can do, let's say you're studying for a test and you have all this information that you have to memorize. One internal strategy that you can use is you group the information into certain categories, right? You make that information make more sense so that when you have to pull it out, it is stored in an organized way that it makes sense for you to pull it out. Okay, so that's another example of an internal strategy. And they can get pretty complicated.
You're referring to chunking, right?
Yeah. Chunking, yes. Yeah. So grouping things into categories, right? So if, let's say you are making that list to the grocery store, okay, you can organize or you can chunk information by, let's say, fruit. Let's say bread, right? Let's say toiletries, things like that. So you can group them so it's easier for you to kind of think about what are the things that you need to go shopping for. Okay? When you're in that category, it's easier to access those pieces of information as opposed to trying to tackle everything as a whole. Okay. Now, what would be an example of it? The other type of strategy is what we call an external strategy. Okay, so this is something that you use outside of yourself. Okay, so this would be things like using technology, right? So if your memory isn't that good, well, fortunately, we have a lot of technology that can help you, right? You can set reminders on your phone for appointments. You can set up, automatic phone numbers so you don't have to remember that. So you can use technology to really serve as your memory, right? In the classroom, you can have a recording device that can record a lecture like that, right? So that you can come back to it and you can hear it again. So that's another example of an external compensation strategy. Okay. I think when that speaker comes in a few weeks, she's going to be talking about it's an app on your phone that can help you strategize on managing your fatigue. So that would be a really good example when she comes to speak of an external strategy to compensate for your ability to manage your fatigue.
Yeah, and what Dr. Albert Miranda there is talking about is on May 25th, the fourth Friday in May, we'll have Michelle Wild from Coastline's Acquired Brain Injury Program talking about different cognitive apps. She has 3 specifically that she'll walk us through, and so that will tie in with Dr. Miranda's talk here about external strategies.
And so with that, there's, we just did a meditation exercise, right? A breathing exercise. There are breathing exercise apps on your phone that you can find. Those will help you so that sometimes, when you're trying to meditate, it's hard to think about, oh, what am I supposed to say or what am I supposed to think of? But you can find apps out there that will actually carry you through a meditation exercise that can be really helpful. So that would also be an external strategy.